Welcome to Bloomington Today. I'm Kaylin Cockrell. Thanks for joining us. If you were near Bloomington Civic Plaza at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, May 15th, you likely saw a crowd of residents, employees, and police personnel gathered around the flagpoles. By the order of President Barack Obama in recognition of Peace Officer Memorial Day and Police Week, flags flew at half-staff on May 15th. Bloomington Police Chief Jeff Potts spoke briefly to the group, saying every day public safety officers work tirelessly to protect our citizens, enforce our laws, and keep our neighborhoods safe. A bugle played while a member of the Police Honor Guard lowered the 3 flags outside of Civic Plaza to half-staff. As part of the ceremony, Guard members fired their rifles 3 times. Bloomington's police force was also a presence in St. Paul following the city's ceremony, as hundreds gathered at the Peace Officers Memorial located on the state capitol grounds. Officers from across the state stood guard for 24 hours at the memorial. Law enforcement personnel walked a thin blue line, which symbolizes the barrier between citizens and chaos. During the ceremony, a bell was rung for every fallen hero who died in the line of duty. Residents can visit the Peace Officers Memorial on the grounds of the Capitol. It's located just off of 12th Street and Cedar Street in St. Paul. City fire officials are continually finding new and unique ways to educate Bloomington's firefighters while keeping them trained for the future. And in a job like firefighting, the best lessons come from actually doing. The South Metro Training Facility in Edina is a focal point for education, demonstration, and hands-on preparation of scenarios and dangers that can occur any second when you're a member of a police or fire team.
The South Metro Training Center is a cooperative effort by Bloomington, Edina, and Eden Prairie, specifically those 3 departments, for fire. I think Airport is also involved on the police side, but for fire it's Edina, Eden Prairie, and Bloomington. We're the primaries. And we have outfitted this training tower behind us with some props to help us provide more realistic fire training.
In addition to gun ranges and classroom settings, one component to the training center stands above the rest, literally. That's this 7-story tower used to train fire personnel from the 3 cities.
As you can see, we can smoke them up. We also have the ability to actually have fires inside. Those fires are natural gas fed fires, so the smoke and the fires are actually more environmentally friendly than what we used to do in the old days. It's still at the same time try to provide some realistic training so people can practice their basic skills.
And on May 14th, this training center was buzzing with Bloomington fire personnel. Chief Seal prepped 24 firefighters on a common fire scenario at a residential home. And then the stations got to work treating this simulation like it was a real emergency.
We got 2 stations coming here. Those stations will train on some fairly basic operations for us. Where we're working on a residential structure, we'll be training on a basement fire and first floor fire scenarios. Because of the difficulties in using flammable gases below grade, our basement fire simulator, we actually enter from the 2nd floor landing up there. As you can see, that stairwell, exterior stairwell, 2nd floor landing. And the way the interior arrangement is set up is that the basement door is just like real close to that door entering in from that landing. So it's like a back door on most residential homes where the basement door is relatively close. Then the crews will go down to the basement and try to extinguish the fire.
After each team was suited up, the simulation began. The first step in any fire emergency is to find a hydrant and lay your hose line. This step must be done extremely carefully because once the water kicks on, the hose needs to have room to expand while giving fire crews enough access line to take inside the home. And while this training structure is made up of reinforced concrete and is obviously very safe for drills like this one, crews are encouraged to keep one important thing in mind.
In most residential houses, the basement stairs are wood, the floors are wood. In some cases, the floor are engineered lumber or lightweight lumber construction. and we're talking about a very short period of time before you have staircase failure or actually floor failure in a residential fire. So we have to be very careful when we train for this and be aware of the hazards associated with modern day construction techniques.
Chief SEAL was suited up during the training exercise as well, standing by at every step, offering guidelines and tips that will help Bloomington's fire force be as safe and effective as possible when fighting a real fire. SEAL says in a job where lives are at stake every day, they take no chances and prepare for as much as possible.
It becomes very important for us to train and basically sweat in training before we actually have to play on the fire ground. What happens is that many times we rely on muscle memory or didactic memory, something that we've done over and over and over again before we actually get to the fire ground, because we're getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, we're getting up and it's pouring down rain, we're getting up and it's thundering and lightning or snow or sleet. And you can't spend a lot of time trying to figure out what you're going to do when those situations are that way. So the more we can do in training and the more realistic our training can be, the better off we are when we actually come up on the real fire.
You can find fire training centers scattered throughout the metro area. Some cities have their own, while other cities band together, like in this case between Bloomington, Edina, and Eden Prairie. Well, Minnesota is known as the land of 10,000 lakes, but in actuality, the Minnesota DNR says there are closer to 12,000 lakes in the state. And as the weather warms, more and more residents are hitting the water for some fun in the sun. Meet Lieutenant Art Saunders. He's with the Hennepin County Water Patrol. He and his teams are out on all the Hennepin County lakes, making sure boat operators, passengers, and residents enjoying the lakes are being safe.
When we're out on the lakes, we're looking for people who are speeding. We are looking for people who might be sitting on a gunwale. We're looking for people who are just acting in an unsafe manner. And again, it's our whole purpose. The Sheriff's Office Water Patrol is to educate people. We don't want to be the bad guys. We would rather educate you so you would learn, so you'll be safe.
Although the weather warmed up early this spring, Lieutenant Saunders says the temperatures in area lakes are much lower than the outdoor temps we've seen recently.
Ice was out about March 20th this year, and the waters are still very cold. Right now, I did check the temperature in Lake Minnetonka. It was 59 degrees this morning. At 50 degrees, without a life jacket, your body is losing about 26 times the heat faster than it would if you were outside. Put yourself without a life jacket, you have about 9 minutes to last in the water before you lose consciousness.
Unlike police officers, water patrol units have the authority to make stops without probable cause and conduct safety verifications.
We will do stops to do safety checks to make sure you're in compliance with DNR rules or even navigational rules, just to say that you have enough life jackets per people, that you have a throwable, that you have your fire extinguisher on hand. And it does give us that probable cause, which again is why we say if you're going to be drinking while you're out on the lake, get the designated driver.
Bush Lake only allows boats with engines that produce 6 horsepower or less on them. So oftentimes you'll see boats trolling or moving slowly. That isn't the case on all lakes in Hennepin County, however, and on hot days when the lakes are crowded with boats, awareness is the key to keeping yourself and others safe.
On a high traffic boating day, I would recommend that you slow down. It's just a safety factor for everybody. You have to be able to see out here who's in front of you. If it could be a kayaker, it could be a person in a canoe, it could be a swimmer. There are swimming events out on lakes. Speed is the most important thing.
And when taking your watercraft out of the lake, every boat should be inspected carefully.
The most important thing that needs to be done when you bring your boat out is, one, pull the boat plug. This has to be out per state law. It's going to get rid of all the lake water that might have accumulated on the bottom of the boat. You'll also want to check around the trailer for any type of weeds that are sticking onto the trailer, onto the propeller, onto the motor. Anywhere on the boat, you want to pull those off to the best the best you can. Going from lake to lake, the best thing again you can do is to wash your boat. It can be just a power wash, cold water, get everything off of it so you don't infect any other lake.
Lakes are a great perk to living in Minnesota. And while there are rules to be followed when it comes to boating, Lieutenant Saunders says with some cooperation and courtesy to others on the water, everyone can have a good time and be safe. There are 104 lakes and 3 rivers in Hennepin County. The Sheriff's Water Patrol Unit will stay plenty busy this summer. You can expect to see officers out on a lake near you at some point this summer. And among Bush Lake Beach, the Bloomington Family Aquatic Center, or your local workout facility, places to get wet while getting some exercise aren't limited in the city of Bloomington. On this week's Do Town segment, we'll check an activity off our to-do list. Many people may think you need to travel to a tropical island to experience. Sea Life Minnesota, located in the Mall of America, has more than 10,000 animals, swimming, gliding, and crawling around the various tanks and exhibits. On average, 2,000 to 4,000 visitors come through Sea Life Minnesota on a given day. But what many don't know is Sea Life has a program where looking at the beautiful animals is just the start.
When you're on the snorkel adventure, you're going to be in the water, staying on the surface with lots of different fish. It's about 30 minutes long, and you just swim around and explore and see the fish and watch them interact with each other.
And today I'll be checking snorkeling at Sea Life Minnesota off my to-do list. But first, I need to learn a bit about how to be safe while having lots of fun in the tank. First, Megan taught me a bit about some of the fish that live in the tank, while also describing their defense tactics. Some fish, like the fox-faced rabbitfish, have venom sacs in their fins, while other fish, like the blue hippo tang, have a sharp spine on their tail.
This doesn't mean that they're going to use those mechanisms against us, but we just want to tell you about them in advance so that when you see them, you can kind of watch them interact with each other.
Then I learned a bit about the gear that I'll be wearing, including the proper way to fit goggles to keep them airtight, how to get into my hood, and the right kick used to propel me around the tank in flippers. Now that I've been prepped, we are ready to go on in. This 80,000-gallon tank includes over 65 species of tropical fish, including pufferfish, a 25-year-old sea turtle named Aggie, and even sharks. The chance to interact with exotic animals like this is once in a lifetime. But another awesome aspect is snorkeling forces you to use different muscles than you would normally use.
You're used to running or biking or walking out here in Minnesota, but instead you're in the water, kicking, moving your arms a little bit different. You're kind of in a different position where you have to hold your neck differently so you can look around right. Because if you look too far to your feet, you're going to put your snorkel underwater. So you have to be conscious of where your body is, and usually that means holding yourself still or moving faster away from certain animals.
Let's take a look at how things were seen from my perspective, using a small underwater camera, which was attached to my wrist during the snorkel adventure. Sea Life Minnesota's snorkel experience is for anyone who is at least 9 years of age, adventurous, fascinated by the underwater ecosystems, and comfortable in the water.
It's a little bit unique, because you are in the middle of Minnesota and you're in ocean water or salt water. It's also unique because it's you with the maximum of 3 other people in this water, and you're not crowded, and you get to kind of just swim around and do something different than what you would normally do in a lake, because in a lake you can't see the bottom, whereas here you can.
Sea Life Minnesota encourages individuals and groups to come and experience a coral reef right in Bloomington. That was awesome. I can check snorkeling at Sea Life Minnesota off my to-do list. If you'd like more details on the snorkel adventure experience, including cost and reservation information, contact Sea Life Minnesota at 952-853-0612. It's now time for a short break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Julie Zamora to discuss the Together We Stand campaign.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw a ball Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Mondays, what's next Sunday? All the healthy children eat well and move a lot. And move a lot. And move a lot. Eat well and move a lot. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Skip a rope Saturday, freeze tag Friday, tap dance Thursday. Whole grains Wednesday, try a veggie Tuesday. Let's move Mondays with the sweet Sunday. Eat well and move a lot. Today is Saturday. Yeah. Today is Saturday. All the healthy children, all the healthy children. Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Welcome back to Bloomington Today. We are now joined by Youth Health Promotion Specialist Julie Zamora. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
Well, a few weeks ago we had Police Commander Dave Olmstead on the show to talk about how this year is kind of a hazardous year for young people between graduations, proms, vacations. And Bloomington Public Health has been running a campaign for a few years now to kind of help deter this dangerous time. Talk a bit about the Together We Stand campaign.
Okay. The Together We Stand campaign is a public service campaign that we do each year for adults actually in the Bloomington community. Spring and summer are hazardous times for youth because that's a time when there's a lot of underage drinking going on between prom and graduation, summer parties. It's that time of year to get out on the lake. So there's an increase in teenage drinking at that time, underage drinking. So the campaign is a reminder to the community to not provide alcohol to kids and to keep kids safe by not drinking.
Perfect. I like the not gearing necessarily straight towards youth like a lot of these are, but the adults. That's a nice twist. Is there anything unique about this year's campaign?
Yes. This year's campaign, which I should mention is sponsored by the Tri-City Partners Coalition and Bloomington Public Health, which is funded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA. But this year's campaign was developed by the Tri-City Partners Coalition itself, members of the coalition, and we serve Bloomington, Richfield, and Edina. So members of the coalition from each of the communities helped us develop the campaign. And we took a little bit more of a social media approach to the campaign this year. So we had members of the community develop it, and we're just trying to get it out there and get it viral so that people see the campaign a lot and they know what we're asking of them, which is to not provide alcohol to youth, and they take that into mind and do what we ask of them.
Absolutely. Specifically, what kind of actions are we asking people through this campaign to take or not to take?
Yeah, we're asking people to take a hard stand and know that to tell people under 21 that drinking alcohol is not acceptable. Research shows that kids who hear that from strong influences in their lives, their parents, leaders in their community, businesses in their community, they respond to that and they're less likely to drink. And kids who drink later in life are less likely to be chemically dependent. Kids who start drinking as young as 15 are about 6 times more likely to be dependent on alcohol as kids who wait until they're 21. So the longer they can wait, the better.
Yeah, statistics show that.
Yes.
Let's remind people quickly, as we get into the next question about the social host ordinance in Bloomington. Yeah. We did have Commander Olmstead on just a few weeks ago, but you want to just give a quick overview of what the social host ordinance in Bloomington is?
Yes, the social host ordinance holds somebody liable, criminally liable, if they provide a location where people who are underage can drink alcohol, so regardless of who provides the alcohol. So if you have a home or a party location where people under 21 are drinking alcohol, you are held accountable for that regardless of your age. So you could be under 21 yourself and regardless of who provides the alcohol. Okay. So that's another tool in the toolkit for parents and for law enforcement to keep alcohol out of the hands of youth.
Okay. Well, we can all agree that we don't want underage youth drinking alcohol. What can you say to remind people why that is so crucial?
Right. Well, alcohol has a really detrimental effect on young brains. The brain doesn't stop developing until the early to mid-20s, and alcohol use by people under that age is likely to cause lasting damage to the brain, and that's newer research that we didn't really know before, but that's really well supported by the 21 drinking age as well. And also kids who drink before they're 21 are more likely to be assaulted, they're more likely to be in a car crash, they're more likely to be have other kinds of accidents, so there are a lot of risks with drinking as well.
Okay. So the Together We Stand campaign, we're getting it out there, but where can people seek out more information if they'd like that?
The Together We Stand campaign is for everybody, businesses. We have a faith community toolkit, and all that information can be found on the city's website. And if you log on, you can search for Together We Stand, and everything is available to anyone who would like it. We've got parent resource cards. We have posters. We have clings for windows for businesses, and we have a lot of the information in English as well as in Spanish as well as English.
Okay. So really trying to get the community behind this.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, we'd like to thank Julie for being here with us today. If you'd like any more information on the Together We Stand campaign, as she said, log on to the city's website and keyword search Together We Stand. It's now time for a short break. We'll be right back.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the Minnesota Twins had their home at Target Field, they played at the Metrodome. But what many don't know is from 1961 to 1981, the Twins had another home right here in Bloomington. Metropolitan Stadium was the home of the Minnesota Twins and the Vikings for 20 years, drawing upwards of 50,000 people for home games. It was constructed in 1956 in the place where Mall of America now stands. In fact, when you walk through Nickelodeon Universe, the mall's theme park, you're still going to see Met Stadium's home plate memorial and even an actual chair from the stadium hanging on the wall at the exact 520-foot elevation of Harmon Killebrew's 500th home run. The Bloomington Historical Society recently donated the last flag to fly at the Metropolitan Stadium to the Minnesota Twins Museum. And at the May 15th Twins game versus the Cleveland Indians, Mayor Gene Winstead, along with Vonda Kelly, president of the Bloomington Historical Society, stepped out onto Target Field and commemorated the memory of Met Stadium by throwing out the first pitch of the game. The donated flag was raised during the singing of the national anthem. And even though the Cleveland Indians won that game 5-0, Mayor Winstead said it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that he was glad to be a part of. And in the U.S., 1 in 4 women will die from heart disease. In fact, coronary heart disease is the #1 killer of women. In an effort to spread awareness about this disease, Oak Grove Elementary School has teamed up with City Public Health to take part in a health-conscious event geared not only toward adult women, but young girls as well. The program is called Girls and Moms on the Move. Girls ages 8 to 12 years old and their mothers are asked to join. The goal is to motivate and support mothers and daughters to live healthier lives and prevent heart disease. Every Monday from June 4th to July 9th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Oak Grove Elementary School, there will be an educational interactive presentation on various health topics, followed by 60 minutes of physical activity. That sounds like a fun event for moms and daughters. Space is limited, so be sure to contact Oak Grove Elementary School at 952-681-6800 to sign up. And that's all the time we have for today. To get more information on city projects, parks, road construction, and events, visit the city's website. To check out past Bloomington Today shows or other city productions, visit Bloomington's YouTube channel, accessible right from the city's homepage. That and so much more is online right now at www.ci.bloomington.mn.us. If Facebook or Twitter isn't your thing, sign up for eSubscribe to have updates sent right to your email or cell phone. This is Bloomington Today, a presentation of the City of Bloomington's Communications Division. I'm Kaylin Cockreal. Thanks so much for being here.